I got that. I can't get onto that channel. Okay. So we're going to get back to this. Hello and good afternoon or good evening, everyone, and welcome to Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. Now, tonight we've got like, well, not just my guest, but my host, my new host that usually do their Thursday night, every other Thursday, uh, premiere with us. And my guest tonight is going to be Kevin Chance and Miss Jennifer Clarke with the Southeast Texas Impact Initiative. So we're going to start the show off right. And our topics tonight is about the Epstein files release. And that's what we're going to have a real discussion about that. So let me kick this off like saying, do you know the phrase Epstein's file? It is it's everywhere right on the timelines, on your timelines, it's on your headlines, it's all in conversation filled with anger and speculation. But today we're cutting through the noise because being named in a document is not the same as being charged. And outrage alone doesn't equal justice. So Jeffrey Epstein committed real crimes. Do you agree?
Yes.
Real people were harmed, but the documents being released sits at the crossroads of law, accountability, and due process. And that distinction matters. So we're gonna rock with that this evening. So let me probably answer that. Are you guys ready to go with that?
Sure.
Ready?
Let's get into it then. Let's get into it. For listeners just tuning in, what exactly do people mean when they say the Epstein files? Let's kick off with that.
Okay, I'll start. Well, it's a collection of evidence, testimony, emails. Anytime you have any type of litigation, whether it be criminal or civil, there is a discovery phase, and with that discovery phase, there is a production of all kinds of documents, email communications, flight logs, bank records, all these types of things. On top of that, in these files, we have deposition testimony, judgments, hearing transcripts, court transcripts. So there is actually there is a plethora of information that is available to the public through these files. It is not charges, it is not indictments, it is not anything like that. It is just a collection of testimony and documents surrounding the network of crime that Epstein was involved in.
You're absolutely right. You hit that on the spot. Kevin, you'd like to add anything to that?
Well, I will say I actually delved into the Epstein files a couple of days ago
Mm-hmm.
just to really see what was out there because I really hadn't done that. I mean, you hear on the news what's in there. They do a real good job of reading it for you. So, but I thought, I'm going to go in there and read a deposition. Uh, After I opened up that 197, or I'm sorry, 179 page deposition, I felt like I bit off a little bit more than I could chew.
Mm-hmm.
So I did scan it and really didn't figure out anything other than that this poor young woman had been, abused.
Right. So what was what was really officially released and what was not released? But I understand, and I know the question, I know the answer to the question, but we're talking just about 1% of the Epstein's files being released.
Yeah,
It's
and you're being generous, actually.
yeah, it's less than 1%.
Yes.
And
Uh,
what has been released is heavily redacted.
Right.
This isn't it's become this very political, like a political punching bag, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a habit in this country of only caring about crime if we don't like the perpetrator. We give
Right.
very little thought to victims.
Right.
If we can weaponize a crime against the person who perpetrated it because we don't like them politically, socially, whatever the reason may be. This country will jump on that. But if it's someone we like, we do everything in our power to minimize, dismiss, right? And
Mhm.
so, but at the end of the day, what that does is it does nothing to help the victims. This isn't about one man. This isn't about two men, right? It's not about political party. This is a network of trafficking and abuse that was international, and it's a lot of powerful people. And we're sending a message to victims of these crimes that we don't care. You see a lot of people, anytime you hear someone accused of sexual assault, especially of a child or some kind of trafficking, people are real quick to get on the internet and say, hang them, give me 5 minutes with them, let me take care of it. They seem to care a lot when they're commenting on the internet. But when the rubber meets the road and people have to be held accountable, those same people are nowhere to be seen, heard, anything, right? It's quiet. So there's no real accountability in this situation because what we're doing is we're protecting systems. And when
Mhm.
we protect systems, what that does is it provides a shield or an umbrella for the people who perpetrate these crimes to continue to act under, because we're more concerned about image and PR and all of that than we are on the actual harm being done. And that's concerning. That's really concerning. And we see it not just in this. This is a huge example of it that's in all of our faces. But this happens in tons of systems, schools, churches, sports, everywhere. If they're more concerned about protecting their image, then the perpetrator uses that to protect them while they perpetrate these crimes. And we have to start being honest about that. It's not about tearing down any one person's reputation. It's about being transparent as an institution or a system and ensuring that people aren't getting harmed.
We lost your audio.
Oh, I'm done.
Okay, now. Okay. I'm looking at another screen. I'm sorry. Let me get back on my. Where we are? Okay. Yeah. So now, do these files contain new evidence, or mostly privileged known information? Just this, I know that's got to be more than we are they're telling us. But I understand that's almost thousands of files that's not having they can't get. Well, did I hear the word 1 million files?
Yeah,
1 million files?
yeah. I thought actually 2 million. It's more
Wow.
than you and I can cover tonight.
Yeah.
But the problem lies, like Jen was saying, with the system.
Mm-hmm.
It it's a system that's been in place for probably hundreds of years, and the rich and powerful are the ones that have benefited from it.
Right.
I mean, we can talk later if you want about the J.P. Morgan Chase case that was settled back in 2023 concerning Epstein.
Briefly tell us about that.
Okay. In 2023, after 200 of the victims had sued J.P. Morgan Chase for basically enabling the Epstein enterprise to funnel money through the bank to his victims.
Mm-hmm.
And there were over 40 that are documented. I'm sorry, 20 that are documented in Chase records. There's also documentation in there where they actually refer to one of the victims as being purchased by Epstein for $600,000.
Wow.
And all this was covered up basically because they settled before the case went to trial.
And that happened to a few others, right? A few other females.
Yeah, there were 200 of the women that actually were involved in this case. It was a joint case representing all 200 of those women. And J.P. Morgan Chase settled for $290,000. I mean, I'm sorry, $290 million.
Wow.
Of which 30% went to the attorneys.
Mhm.
and but basically took no responsibility for anything that happened in the 15 years that he had accounts there. I mean, he funneled $1.1 billion through those accounts in those 15 years.
How much?
1.1 billion.
Oh my God!
That's a bunch of zeros.
So it's just not the two main culprits in this
No.
deal. It's
No,
several.
and that's
It's
really, I would believe that is what everybody wants to know. Who were the perpetrators? Who were the unindicted co-conspirators? Because there's only two people that have been indicted. One of
right.
them's in jail. One of them's dead.
Yeah, right.
So, but
One of them is supposed to be committed suicide in
yes,
jail.
yes.
I made it like I got a hold of my head.
But yeah, and that $290 million in 2023,
Mm-hmm.
that was 0.73% of Chase's net income for the year.
Wow.
0.73.
Wow.
Their net income was $49.7 billion
Wow.
for 2023. So that was a pittance to them. That was just money to get them to leave them alone.
Because they knew that the victim couldn't afford. They'll take anything because they couldn't afford to fight, right?
Well, I'm not going to begin to guess why they settled for that. I mean, that's a lot of money to most people.
That is.
I mean, they probably each got around $1 million if it was evenly divided.
Mhm.
But that didn't give them justice. I bet you
No,
they
no.
would have rather walked away finding out that all the names were out there.
Wow, that is something. That now one thing that I do know, I know I'm just speculating as well, that it could be a rumor, but I understand that there was a leader of this in the Epstein files, this criminal uh, act. There was a leader, and Jeffrey Epstein was just only the manager of it. Now I wonder who the leader was.
There's been speculation that potentially Maxwell's father was involved. The thing is, it's all going to be speculation because we were promised transparency. We were, but judges have already ruled that the administration, I think it was under George W. Bush, when the AG in Florida, Acosta,
Right.
entered this deal. They violated the Criminal Victims' Rights Act, right? They didn't
Mm-hmm.
discuss what the agreements would be before they entered into them. They minimized everything that was happening. And what happens is when you resolve these things, like with JP Morgan Chase or these plea deals, is you avoid public accountability, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you don't have all your documents can be sealed. So there's nothing made available or public through the court system. You don't have a day in court that is public and reported on. This has been, and that's what is concerning about this, because this isn't like somebody down the road with no power. These are powerful people throughout the world. And without transparency, without accountability, there's no way to know if this is fully stopped, number one. And it sets a precedent for all victims in the future that if your perpetrator is powerful, there's nothing you can do. And we already have a problem with that in this country where over 90% of people who perpetrate these crimes never even see the inside of a courtroom, much less a jail cell. And so, if we're really serious about protecting children, if we're really serious about stopping human trafficking, if we're really serious about all these things we claim to be serious about, then we have to stop politicizing this as if we're protecting someone and start pushing for real transparency and real accountability. And the Department of Justice we have right now didn't necessarily violate the Criminal Victims' Rights Act because it happened before their time. But every administration since then has inherited an obligation to remedy and repair that on behalf of the victims.
Why is so many names redacted? Um, or only partial a reference on them. Why is the redaction? Why can't we have the full unredacted version of the files?
Well, some of the redactions are victims
Well,
whose
why we say
names
that?
we may never know. I mean, some victims have came forward,
Right.
but there's tenfold that probably have not come forward. I mean, I've heard thousands in
Why?
in the number of women that were involved in Epstein and Maxwell's enterprise. I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever know how many for sure. But the other ones that are probably redacted are unindicted co-conspirators. Those people that, they didn't think they could, get a conviction on them,
Mhm.
or they were being protected. So you have a situation where, with the law that President Trump signed, the only people that were supposed to be redacted would be victims. Anyone else, if they were being redacted just to save their safe face,
Right.
then they couldn't do that. They're not
I,
supposed to do that.
I
But
saw
I got a feeling that they are doing that.
I saw pages and pages, but just blacked out. All everything blacked out. Just a
Yes.
page of black ink.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that can't all be victims.
No.
So
No.
why are we protecting the co-conspirators and the ones who was causing the problem?
Well, I mean, I think that goes back to
The
this being
Johns.
I think this goes back to this being politicized, right? People want the people on their team protected, and we've got to stop that. None of these people who perpetrated these crimes need to be protected, especially if they're in the positions of power. We have a right to know if they are criminals and abusers. But the second part of that is, the DOJ right now, it's using legal maneuvering to avoid transparency and maintain secrecy. We were promised transparency. It's called the Epstein Transparency Act. We were
Mhm.
promised transparency.
But what that signed already? Did the
It was
president
signed,
sign? Right.
Congress, the president signed
Yeah.
it, but now, just like with everything else that we're seeing, they're putting distance, right? We're not releasing them, but and then they go through all of these different legal maneuvers to try to justify and give plausible deniability for why they're not culpable for not releasing them. The bottom line is it's time to release them. The public is demanding it. It was part of a campaign platform. There's now a law, and all these things are happening. It makes it easy to get distracted from this. So it's just real important that we continue to demand it as a public, continue to demand it.
So you're saying that the public pressure forces the charges.
Well, it should force the release. I mean, if we're not
Right.
getting mad enough and we're not getting loud enough, no, it's not going to make a difference. But if we stay persistent, and because they're thinking we'll give up on it, right? I mean, there's a million
Right.
other things to focus on.
It's not going to go to. It's not going anywhere.
Right. But I mean, people, we're easily distracted, and there is a lot happening. There are a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things happening right now that are important and they matter. But
Mm-hmm.
instead of only being able to focus on one thing, we need to, as a society, be able to focus across the board and demand things for everything, right? Demand that these be released. Make all the demands we want, but don't exchange one for another.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Now,
that's what they're hoping is we'll
right.
move past it.
So now it's over. It's over 30 days past since the deadline.
Yes.
So now what are we waiting on now?
Congress.
Yeah, we're still waiting for Congress. I know Ro Khanna and Representative Massey had went to judge's court and requested that he appoint a special master or monitor to take over the release of the files.
Mm-hmm.
He did not see a way he could justify doing that, since they are not necessarily involved.
Mm-hmm.
But in his ruling, he did suggest that they actually file a claim, and then he could proceed with that. Or actually, Ro Khanna said yesterday that a couple of the women have said that they can file a claim in
Right.
court. So they'll have, what's the word, Jen?
Legal
Thank
standing.
you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and if they can do that, then that judge can do something. But his hands were tied. I mean, he did the right thing. He didn't try to push it, but he did actually give hints in his ruling toward the end of it, suggesting, y'all file a case.
Yeah, and I mean the judiciary is one avenue, but Congress is not. I mean, they could appoint an independent victims committee or agency that is involved in this process because right now, essentially, the DOJ is policing itself, right? And
Right.
they get to decide whether they complied, and that lends itself to problems, right? We're already struggling with you being transparent.
Right.
You're fighting what you agreed to do through the court system. Congress really needs to step in, and I mean, you could have fines for not complying with the Criminal Victims Rights Act. There's lots of options. Congress is gonna have to get creative, and they're not. They're not getting creative.
Well, those who are for the listeners and viewers that just joining us, that's just tuning in, we're talking and we're discussing. Our topic of discussion is the Epstein files release. Are they going to get released? When are they going to get released? Are they going to be unredacted or unredacted? So this is what we're discussing. You're welcome to join us in this conversation by make your comments and send it to us. And we're ready to discuss it with you. Right now, we have Will Cut. She said it's such a battle when we have having to stay within the confines of law while they just go willy nilly. And I understand that you're actually really right.
Yeah.
And so, what? How do you feel when you think that we will have an opportunity with Congress? Where's I want to say this in a better way. I can't think of the way I want to say it, but do you feel good about that we're going to get it released?
Um, I honestly, not right now. No.
Who's authorized to release them? The DOJ.
Mhm.
The president could tell the DOJ tonight to release them,
Yep.
and they would have to release them.
Well,
But-
why would he have to do that again? Because he's already signed the Epstein release papers already.
But that's a law that they don't have to abide by, even though it's a law.
It's a law.
Pam Bonnie's already told the courts that they can't enforce it.
That's what I'm saying about legal maneuvering, right? And this is intentional. It's intentional. It's not just degrading public trust, it's collapsing it in government and agencies. I mean, that's kind of the point here. And the second part of that is what they do release. They've released some fake photos, they've released some real photos. It's been a mess. And again, that's intentional because then they maintain plausible deniability. Well, you can't really know if that was real or not. You can't
Mhm.
really know if that was true or not. And I think this is all intentional. And that certainly makes it look like there are members of this administration that are in there and guilty of something. But what this should ultimately do is we should get a full transparent release. And then once prosecutors from different states or I mean, I would love to say the DOJ, but it's a weird
Mhm.
thing to rely on right now. But once they see, then investigations could start if needed. Nothing being released from these files would be an indictment, right? But
Mhm.
it should prompt some investigations into powerful people.
Well, right now, like you said, the DOJ is policing themselves, and it's going to be hard to get anything out of them because why? I'm gonna leave that alone. Let me go to move to the next question. Are these documents sworn testimonies, investigative notes, or third-party references?
All of those.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it can be a list from a diary. There
mhm.
are all kind of documents and depositions and witness testimony and all that, and even information from Ghislaine Maxwell's trial.
Could they
Uh,
bring her back? Could they bring her back to court or Congress?
They could, but she has to be willing to speak, to tell the truth.
Yeah, I think
On
it's probably
on
more likely to see her testify in front of Congress at some point than to
Hmm.
see her charged again with something. But the files will have already sworn testimony under oath. Any
mhm.
testimony that happened in a courtroom or a deposition is sworn and verified and certified testimony. So there is that. I don't believe that there are a whole lot of criminal investigation files. I'm not sure that there's a lot of that. There will likely be some, but I don't think there's a lot of that because I don't think there's been a lot of criminal investigation on this. But there will be deposition testimony. And then there's lots of emails, correspondence, letters, like Kevin said, diaries, various ways that we can see the testimony. But again, on this, a lot of this stuff has already been out there, right? Before we even discussed releasing the files, you could find deposition testimony. You could find different things from different victims. Not engaging in that is a choice. If you're waiting for the release of the files to see if someone's guilty or innocent, you're not going to get that. That's not what's in there.
Wow,
There's
this
no
is
judgment, is what I'm
I
saying.
I just knew that we had opportunity back in December on December the 20th, which was the deadline, and I just thought, hey, okay, now we're going to get somewhere, and they're still refusing to release the files.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, and where do we go from here?
We
I
have to
think
be
we need to.
vocal. We have to be out there every day calling our
Because that's a
representatives.
lot of distraction. You've got the Venezuela. We've got the shooting of the boats. Have you noticed that stopped since
Yes.
they got the
Yes, it's
oil?
Greenland.
Yeah, since they got the oil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Um,
that's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
uh, then we have uh, Greenland, Iran, Gaza,
Yeah.
uh,
Ukraine. Oh, wait a minute. Ukraine?
Ukraine, and,
Iran.
and Minneapolis. So
Well, I mean, we're supposed to be invading Mexico and Colombia
yeah,
and Cuba as well.
right, Cuba. So
And all of these things matter, right? What's happening with ICE in our streets matters. Where we're invading other countries that are sovereign nations because we want something, that matters too. All these things matter. And so it's not saying one matters more than the other. I think we just need to be consistent and persistent and not forget, right? You can call your congressman or email them every day and say the Epstein files still matter. We want to see them, release them. I mean, you could just even do release the Epstein files every day until it happens. But if Congress doesn't feel the pressure to act, they're not going to act.
I got brain dead that time. I was texting you guys to look at the message. Did you see the message? Dana, Danae Wilcott.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you answer that question for
I can't read it.
Okay, is there
her?
any explanation why so many incriminating tips in the files were not followed up on by enforcement? Um, so that goes back to this idea of protecting the powerful, right? From the beginning, when Epstein was charged, everything was minimized from day one, and his co-conspirators, the people who financed this operation, all of that was kept under wraps. So there is connections between the people who have been prosecuting these crimes and the people who are being prosecuted. There is a lot of overlap, and that's why it's so important we see them, because we need to know that the people who are responsible for prosecuting the people in this country are not in those files. We need to know that the people who run the banks and financial systems are not in those files. Like this is one of the biggest cover-ups internationally for this type of crime. And if this case isn't big enough to promote change, transparency, and better laws and protections for victims, what is going to be? What is going to be? You know, we've repeatedly seen people get off with barely a slap on the wrist for this type of crime, and it did not involve the money or the trafficking or the secrets or all of this stuff. If we can't make this one worthy of attention, that really tells victims that they'll never be worthy. And we have to be careful of that.
How does social media amplify assumptions before facts are verified?
Can you say that again, Tony?
What does social media amplify assumptions before the facts are verified?
Well, it's chaos, right?
Yeah.
It's
Right,
chaos.
Mhm.
right,
If you
right,
see some people see something they like, so if it's against Trump or Clinton or whoever else is in the files, but those have been two of the big focuses. If you're, I mean, you see it nonstop. People on the right are reposting stuff about Clinton. People on the left are reposting stuff about Trump. Here's the
right.
thing: nobody doubts that either one of them show up in those files. Nobody. Like, we know they're in there. This isn't about them. There's a whole bunch of people in there that we know nothing about. And we need to know. We need to
Right.
know, are they currently in our government right now?
I believe that.
Right. So,
Mhm.
and both sides, right? It doesn't, the sides don't matter. The crime, the cover up, and the victims do. And if we focus on that and quit making this political, we might actually get somewhere.
You like to add to that, Kevin?
Well, I mean, Jen said it.
Yep.
There's
Okay.
so many names in there that we are unaware of.
Well, these are the powerful people. The rich
Yes,
and powerful people are in there,
the
and
ones that can keep their names
right,
from coming out.
right, and this is why they're not wanting to release these files. I think the people that is in the cabinet are in those files. I think there's members of the Congress are in those files. I think there's big time bankers are in those files. This is an international deal. This is just not in the United States, because this is worldwide just about, because a whole lot of people was involved in the Epstein files. And Jeffrey knew this. This is why he recorded everything. How would you ever get a recording over 1,000 files? You really had to be really, that was for him to blackmail. And this is the reason why I feel like that he did not commit suicide in the jail. He was killed.
I
Well, I
mean,
mean, he definitely kept records, right?
He
Which,
did. He was a record keeping son.
yeah,
Yeah.
you would think if you were concerned about being caught, you wouldn't do that so blatantly. And so I think that speaks to the powerful connections he had and the insulation they gave him from any real criminal accountability, right? And I think there is a great degree of why we see some of these administrations getting away with the things they get away with. And it's not just this one, but is because the powerful people that are being protected by this staying a secret are involved in that. They stay involved so they stay protected. We have to stop doing that. We have to stop allowing that. And but you know, if the royal family can strip people of titles,
Right.
we can do a better job
That's
of
right.
holding people in this country
That's
accountable.
that's right. That's right. And it's just too much sugarcoating things here in our system, and it's been going on forever. It's just now we're getting a sight of what is going on. A commentator comment come in, and it says, because people haven't learned they can't trust what is on social media the way they used to be able to trust news. So they take it as a fact when it has no proof or legitimacy beyond the meme makers. And you're correct, because every time I get a meme or anything, I have to go and research it, look at to see if it's true or false before I even repost it or forward it.
mhm.
So and the media, the mainstream media are ignoring the facts right now. They're not reporting what the public wants to know.
Right.
They are seem like they are scared, or they are controlled, and we're getting so close to a state-run media.
We are. I think part of the problem is we have a 24-hour news cycle now, and it is a lot of talking heads, a lot of pundits and opinion pieces. And I think one of the things we struggle with is people struggle to tell the difference between fact and opinion anymore. We don't have a lot of people reporting facts, and a lot of people only function in the media space that speaks to their biases. And this isn't one-sided; it's both sides, right? It's all
Mm-hmm.
sides. Um, you engage in the media that confirms your biases because it's comfortable and you don't have to be challenged. Well, what happens is when you're hearing that all the time, it feels like that's truth. So when you see a meme or a social media post, if it's just regurgitating what you're already listening to in your echo chamber, it feels like truth. So you don't feel compelled to look it up. But we really need to do a better job of
Right,
fact checking. It takes
right,
seconds to fact check something before we repost.
right.
And we really need to do a better job of that, because what we're doing is we're perpetuating the chaos and confusion. And it's the chaos and confusion that continues to allow for plausible deniability.
Yeah, because I'm reading. My next question was going to be: how should the responsible media cover this without fueling conspiracy theories?
At first, it's being honest, right?
Right,
It's being honest. We got rid of that doctrine that allowed, so now every opinion gets the same amplification, whether it's legitimate, whether it's based in reason, whether it's based in fact, doesn't matter. Every opinion gets the same amount of space. That is dangerous, because if your opinions aren't based in reality, amplifying them only creates more chaos and confusion. Media, there was a meme that went around recently that it said, as the media, it's not your, if someone tells you it's raining and someone tells you it's not your job to say both of those things. It's your job to check and see, is it actually raining or not, and report on the truth.
right,
And so that's the complication we're having in a lot of our media spaces now. It's just amplifying everything without any real discernment.
right. Now, what structure? What the structure that Jeffrey Epstein's had, that it allows someone like him to operate for so long. And we're not talking about 4 or 5 years. We're talking about almost 2 decades.
Yes. Uh, it takes money and a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the bottom line, Tony.
Yeah.
If you got money, you don't have to worry about jail. You don't have to worry about accountability, responsibility. And I'm not saying everybody with money is a bad person,
Mm-hmm.
but I bet you there's a lot of bad people that have a lot of money.
That's right.
Money
That's
and
not that's my
connection,
opinion. That's not fact.
right?
This is crazy. This is crazy.
But it's money and connection, isn't it? Right? Like,
Right.
and if you surround yourself with people who have the same things to lose,
Mm-hmm.
then you're better able to protect each other. There was, this isn't the first time we've seen this, and unfortunately, I've had experiences with other systems dealing with this same thing. But it's textbook. Like, everything that's happening is predictable, because that's what happens every time. And so what we see are this: people are not aware of how grooming works, of how trafficking works, of how these systems that protect their image and their PR above the health and safety of the children or people in its care, what they do. There are places on the dark web where they discuss what systems. It could be a church, it could be a sports league, it could be a school, whatever. What systems do not hold people accountable for these crimes because they want to keep it quiet. And those places get shared among them so that they know where to go for their own safety, right? So
Right.
they talk to each other. Where can you go that you're not going to get caught? You go to the systems that protect themselves, even at the expense of victims. And that's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing here, is a system that is protecting itself at the expense of victims.
Going back to the J.P. Morgan case,
Yes.
the people, frontline people, were doing their job. They were reporting massive cash transactions. Any transaction over $10,000 daily requires a currency
You're right.
transaction report. Okay.
Federal report. You're right.
When they went upstairs, they were dismissed.
So they was
They
connected.
were
with
ignored.
right. They was part of the whole plan.
Oh yeah. I mean,
part of it.
this didn't start at the bottom. It started at the top and trickled down.
And what they do is they shift the blame, right? If you're complaining about it, if you're a victim stepping up, if you're someone reporting discrepancies, they make you the problem,
Okay,
right?
let's get down. That's good. Let me get straight to the point. I'm going to say this. Ask this question: why is Trump, Pam Bondi, and Cash Patel is holding back? Why are they not wanting to go forward with the files being released?
There's people they're protecting. I mean, that's the bottom line of it. If we
Mhm.
want to, if we want to argue over who those people are, I mean, we don't know until the files are released. But there are people, and I say multiple, plural people, they're protecting.
Trump name was stated in the Epstein file. I understand 13,000 times.
Yeah, people worked overtime to redact his name. All that's come out. I mean, they had the DOJ. People were working overtime to go in and do the redactions, and his name was included in those redactions.
So what? Let's see here. How can I ask? So, do you think the the, the Department of Justice going to play going forward, or are they going to just stall?
They're going to stall. I mean, their
For
hand's
sure.
going to have to be forced.
I mean, I don't know how it will get to the Supreme Court, but it's going to get to the Supreme Court.
You
I don't
think
know
it's
how
gonna-
it can
you-
avoid
you-
that.
You think it's going to get to the Supreme Court?
It has to, because if those individual victims do file a case in that judge's court, then there will be. I mean, I can see.
We really don't have we really cannot hold anyone accountability because the Supreme Court has a conservative court.
They
And they're
do,
not- yeah.
but they just ruled against Trump in a recent case.
That's
And
on the feds.
on what?
On the Fed.
Oh yes, on the Fed.
Okay.
Oh,
So they ruled against it for independent feds, right?
they ruled to their issue is keeping the Fed independent. Yes.
Right. Keep it
Yeah,
independent.
they want to do that.
Right.
Surprisingly, they went there and even asked questions about, the independence of the Fed and those things, which you wouldn't have thought the Supreme Court would have went there, but they did.
Right.
Which is good.
It really is. But you know why? Money.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
It all comes down to money, Tony.
Always, always.
Well,
And I do think that's a lot of why these aren't being released, because the people involved, there's a lot of money connected to that. And ruining their careers being ruined will have some financial impact. But when we talk about the Supreme Court, while it does lean conservative, and some of its rulings for anyone who follows the Supreme Court have been abysmal, um, they do have a line. Each of them has a line, and I don't think Epstein files are going to be it, right? I don't think that they would rule in the favor of victims over this admin or the DOJ. Just that's my impression of the Supreme Court right now. That didn't used to be the case, right? It used to be a pretty good barometer of what was fair or whatever. But I think that's gone now too. So I think this part of this is an attempt to erode public trust in any of our institutions. And it's been effective. I don't think many people do trust the Supreme Court to rule fairly in this instance.
right. No one trusts the Supreme Court anymore like we once believed in it. And also they don't trust Congress.
No.
I don't think they trust any part of a government right now.
No.
Right. And the agencies that we could trust have all been dismantled or minimized. So
Right.
Yes.
the keepers of fairness have all been defunded. So all we've got are the three branches. And the judiciary was holding the line for a while, but every time a judge in a lower court makes a ruling, the DOJ is going to appeal it until it gets to the Supreme Court because
Right.
that's where they think they can get their way.
Right. It just keep going on and on and on.
And
What does
that's how this case would get there, because the judge that Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey took their request to, I think is one of those judges that would rule in favor of the claimants, the victims.
right?
And then, like you said, Pam Bondi's going to appeal it to the appeals court. It's going to end up going to the Supreme Court at some point in time.
Right. Yeah, actually, like you are right about that. Uh, I lost my train of thought when I was going to ask
Sorry.
this question. I slipped my head. So, well, I'll just go to this as we're getting ready to go into a close. What does the case teaches us about power, secrecy, and accountability in America?
Proximity to wealth and power ensures you never have to be accountable. That's what we're looking at right now. And that's what people believe. If it doesn't change, that's what people are going to go forward believing. Something I do think is interesting, real quick. Clinton was subpoenaed and apparently refused the subpoena, but said he would testify publicly, which I think is great, right?
Right.
Because then we're forcing discovery.
Right.
If they hold him accountable for refusing a subpoena, or he testifies publicly, that is going to be an opportunity for the public to see actual documents and hear real testimony and evidence. So it was a smart move on his part, even if it looks bad in the front. I mean, how many people in this admin have refused subpoenas? It's nonstop.
Right.
So him doing it too shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it will be politicized too. But if they call him to account on it and he testifies publicly, that is going to be an avenue to open
But
the door for the release of some of these documents.
Right. And discovery.
Yes. Yes.
So, for those who are listening and are viewing, let them know what we mean about discovery.
Discovery is the process in any legal proceeding, criminal or civil, where you ask questions, and people have to answer under oath as if they were in the court. That's what a
Right.
deposition is.
Right.
That's part of discovery. You also submit written questions, and people have to answer those. They also have to produce documents. It's a requirement, and there are laws and statutes that guide that. But the discovery process is where all of this would be found and be able to be seen.
That's right. If the listeners take one thing away from this release of the Epstein files, what should it be?
Call your congressperson every day and
Yes.
remind them that it matters.
It matters. Everything matters to us.
Yes, we can't let it die. It has to keep going until a result that will satisfy the majority of this country anyway.
And hopefully result in laws going forward that protect victims better.
Yes.
Right, right, exactly. So, as we come to a close, let me just say this thing to you guys. The Jeffrey Epstein crime were real.
Mm-hmm.
The harm was real, but the documents now being discussed sits at an intersection of law, privacy, and due process and public accountability. We must continue to stay on our congressmen, our representatives, and stay on them until these files are released. We can do it. We the people,
Mm-hmm.
and we can do it
Yes.
if we continue to stand and don't give up. Like to have any closing remarks?
Mine was call your congressman. That's the
Yeah.
most important thing we can say.
Hey,
Can
listen,
I share
also-
one thing, Tony?
Yes, you sure
Yeah.
can.
So I didn't watch the Jack Smith testimony today in front of the House Judiciary Committee, but I did hear one thing that he said, which I thought was really appropriate for this time. And what he said was that it'd be catastrophic if the most powerful people in our country aren't held to the same legal standard as everyone else.
Yes.
And that's exactly where we're at right now.
That's where we are right now. Exactly where we are right now.
Yes.
Call your congressman.
Yes.
Your representatives.
Can I add something else to that?
That's that. Go ahead.
5calls.org.
Mhm.
It is a website or an app that you can access through your phone. Put in your zip code. It will give you who your representative is and who your two senators are. If it is a state and federal thing, it'll give you all 5 of your representatives that you need to contact. It'll pull up the number, and it gives you talking points for a broad range of issues right now. And God knows we have issues out there.
We do have some issues. Let's have our next topic on Minnesota.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's operate on that and see what we can do about talking about ICE,
Sounds good.
border control. We got that. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching us tonight on Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Thank
All
you
right.
so much, guys. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you for watching Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. Be sure to like and subscribe to all Knowledge is Power social media pages.